Hey, Happy New Year. With a new year coming up, it makes sense to kind of reflect on the past, but also consider what is my comic book New Year's resolution. Hi, this is James for Read More Comics. If you like listening to my content, hearing me ramble on about comic books, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell up in the corner so you get notifications whenever I post new content. Hit the like button. And if you want to leave a comment, if you want to interact with me, I invite you to. I appreciate any conversation I can have with other people that have a passion for this hobby. So as I was beginning, it is a new year. It's been a couple weeks into it, and I've been spending some time thinking about what is my collector goal for the year. And I've kind of broken it down into a couple different parts. All right. So to give some background, excuse me, to give some background, last year I set a SMART goal, at least what I thought a SMART goal is. A SMART goal is an acronym. I'm sorry, SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable. It needs to be attainable. It needs to be relevant, and it needs to be timely. And I thought I checked off all the boxes for that. But upon reflecting, as I had put energy, put effort, put money into that goal, I realized it wasn't specific enough. It wasn't measurable enough. And there were places where I could have tightened it up and I would have been able to not only achieve my goal earlier, but achieve it with flying colors. And I didn't quite do that. Okay, so just to rehash without you having to go back and find the video from last year, my goal was to finish my Batman Volume 1 collection going from issue number 400 to the end of the volume, which is 713, and also all the annuals for that time period. And I'm sorry, I have allergies. They're terrible. And reflecting on that, what I realized was there were a few points in the year where I really pushed it. I went to a couple dealer convention. I hit my local comic book shops. I went to half price books. I went online. I used different vendors online. I use eBay, Mercari. Graham Cracker Comics was like the holy grail of comic book shops online to help me with this. But what I realized was it really came down to there were a couple pushes throughout the year, but I really wasn't keeping it measurable and timely. The only reason I came close to achieving my goal, and I want to admit that right off, I did not achieve my full goal. I'm happy with what I got. I got all of the single issues from 400 to 713, but I didn't get all the annuals. And it wasn't like I needed many of them. The annuals were just more elusive. And at the end of the year, I just went, holidays are coming up. I'm not going to make that a priority. And reflecting on it, I really could have achieved that goal. There were a couple things I didn't do last year that I'm trying this year. And also, I'm expanding my goal. Like at the beginning of the year, I think I had about 70 comics I needed. I felt that was a reasonable number. And so this year, sorry, itchy leg. This year, what I'm looking at doing is I'm actually increasing it slightly. Uh, and it's going to be a more diverse goal, which is going to include Bronze Age comics, modern comics, and it's going to have a couple different layers to the goal. Okay, so let's start with this. And I have my notes on my computer, so if you see me like kind of eyeballing right there, I'm pulling it up right here. So the first part of my goal, and this is something that I did not put a lot of energy in last year, was I'm differentiating between reader goals and comic book collecting goals. Now, as a comic book collector and a comic book reader, I think they're two sides of the same coin. Not everybody does that. I recognize some people are just in it to collect the comics. In a sense, they're like big baseball cards, I guess, or Pokemon cards or whatever. And that's all good. I am in no way judging a collector that collects just for the sake of having those books and not reading them. But I'm an avid reader. And so one thing upon reflecting on it, I did not make that a priority throughout the year. And I need to be more intentional. So my goal is to read at least one comic book a day. And at this point, I'm totally doing that. Okay. And then over the weekends, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through my back issues because the whole point of collecting this, and you can't see it, I have short boxes all over the place in my den. The whole point of collecting comic books for me is not just to have them, but to read them, right? So on the weekends, I want to go back and I want to read back issues. Uh, and that's something I need to put energy in. It's not enough just to read the books that are coming out on New Comic Book Day every week. I have a short box just for those. And maybe something I need to do to help me achieve this, and I think this would be specific, is having a short box just for back issue reading. Here's the books I'm reading through. I'm not sure if I want to go that route yet because I got a lot of short boxes, and that'll come kind of, we're going to loop back around to that when we get to uh, some of my collecting goals. So I want to read at least one comic book a day. I want to read back issues on the weekends. And then I love reading just normal novels. I'm going to try to make that a priority in the evening. One thing that I've noticed, and Apple shares all this information all the time, I spend an exorbitant amount of time on my phone when I don't need to. And so I've been making an effort instead of doom scrolling, going, hey, what pictures are people posting about their comic books? What's going on about comic books? Instead of doing that, I'm not carrying around my phone around at home. And so the advantage then is I'm having time. I'm having time to spend with my wife, and I'm engaged, and I'm going to have time to read, and I'm going to be engaged. And that's my goal. So that's my reading goal. And out of all of it, I think this is going to require discipline because I'm going to be honest. When I have work things going on, that's on my plate. That's a priority. I'm looking at that. If there's something going on with my family, that's a priority, and rightly so. But I can uh, shape my time around those two priorities, around my family and around my work, around being a teacher. I can wake up a little bit earlier in the morning, drink coffee, and read a comic book. And that's a good way to start the day instead of being on my phone. I should probably use my prop being on my phone, or being on a computer checking things out that way. Okay, so those are my reading goals, and I'm really excited about that because I was watching a video by Reggie Collects, and Reggie was talking about how comic books, he wants comic books to bring joy, and that's just it. I want comic books to bring happiness into my life and not just be a chore. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, and this is where the details really going to come out. Okay, this is where I need to be disciplined as a collector. So we've talked about my reading goal. This is going to be my collecting goal, and there are tiers to this. Okay, the first thing is I need to get a handle on organization. I was looking around and I saw piles of comic books neatly hidden around instead of put away. I enjoy putting comic books away. I enjoy cataloging them. It's relaxing to do. I need to keep on top of that. If that means Friday night, I am going, okay, where's the stack of comic books I need to put away? That's what I'm doing. Spend an hour doing it. And it's going to be relaxing. It's enjoyable. It's like, my dad back in the day would go into the garage and putter around on his workbench. It's the same thing. I just need to be intentional about that. So the first thing is organization. I do need to make some hard choices coming up down the road. Talking about getting better shelving, using the space in my house, and that's going to require some conversations with my wife, and we're going to have to negotiate that, which I'm okay with. She has her hobbies. She loves crafting and sewing and things like that. I have comic books. We can find a way to compromise, and that's what mature adults do. Okay, so organization every Friday night. I'm going to spend an hour. Okay, I need to make some hard decisions. That's a little bit longer term. That's probably something that's going to kind of play out over the summer when it's nicer outside and we can move things around and stuff like that. Okay. Now here comes like some specific collecting goals. And this is where I need to be specific. and I need to be measurable. And measurable is going to take place in a couple different tiers. Okay, first, it's measurable in that I want these specific comic books by the end of the year, right? But it also is measurable in, and this is how I'm budgeting for this. I know there are many collectors, some of whom I follow on YouTube or in other places that have the hobby support itself. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to sell my comic books to buy more comic books. I I love that there are people out there that can do it. It's just not me. Okay, that's a lot of time, and that's not what I want to spend my time on. I try to be efficient as a collector and collecting the things I want to keep. Okay, so I don't have a bunch of detritus lighting around in short boxes going like, here's a bunch of books that you just have. I don't want to be that guy. Uh, when those things come up, those become things I pass out at Halloween or I give to my grandkids, you know, I just give them away. So how am I going to do this? Well, I have a reasonable comic book budget. In my budget every month, I give myself some, we'll call it a comic book money. Okay. It's a very specific amount every 2 weeks out of my paycheck. This is my comic book money. And I have not been effective at budgeting that. I haven't. You know, it's money that I would use to buy video games, and I'd buy DVDs, and I'd buy, you know, Taco Bell in the morning on the way to work, you know. So I am going to be budgeting efficiently. And I'm trying some different things, using some spreadsheets to help me do that. Okay. Because having that money is going to allow me to effectively purchase books when the money's available for it, right? Instead of me waiting for certain things to happen. You know, I do some side gigs for work and things like that for that money to show up. I can go, here's the money. Now I can do this thing. Okay. I don't have to wait for the money. It's right there. Okay. So that's the first step. Being disciplined in how I'm using my comic book money. You know, I'm going to buy my pulls and I'm not going to go to half price books and just buy anything that attracts my attention. I'm being very focused on this goal because this goal is a little bit more extensive and some of the books are going to be a little bit pricier. Not many, but some of them will. And I need to be able to navigate that. Okay. So now let's talk about the comic books I want to collect. And some of these, I'll be honest, there are some runs that I'm really close. I need 5 or 6 issues, a lot of these, but there are a couple that are a little bit more extensive where I'm talking about 40 or 50 books. And at least one run, I need to be careful to avoid some potential FOMO landmines. Okay, and we'll get to that. So first one, here is a Bronze Age classic, and I have been collecting, this is like low-key collecting, they just kind of shown up. Jack Kirby's Superman's friend, Jimmy Olsen. Okay. I just thought it would be cool. And I ended up picking up most of the run just, you know, incidentally. I have a couple key books left. I have the Dark Side book left. That's going to be a little pricier. And for me, that is a modest expense right there. You know, for other people, other collectors, I recognize that would just be like, here, you know, I'm opening my wallet. But I need to be disciplined because I also have normal pulls. So I need to get that. I think they're like 5, 6 books. Okay. So that's one. And that'll be a really cool Bronze Age addition to my collection. Second one is I need to finish the original Marvel ROM run. Now you can't see it, but over here, over my right shoulder, I have the Omnis for this. I bought them when Marvel put them all together because that I thought that would be a really cool way to read them. And that's my full intent. But I want to have the individual issues, and I'm really close. I need 6 issues. I've been able to get many of them in dollar bins. There's um, the Return of Thanos. I think I need, and there's a couple other issues here or there. So it's really close to being finished. I just need to bite the bullet, and I need to pull the trigger and get those books. I have been working on the Brubaker Captain America run. I'm down to 6 books. None of them are keys. I have all the keys already. It's just these 6 strange books that I need to get. So that's a part of it. Last year, I didn't finish my Batman Smart Goal. I'm going to get the annuals. Those and I think it's just the print runs on some of these things. They're a little difficult to find. I'm going to have to use eBay and other sources. Some of the comic book shops in the area, they just haven't had them. And I think it's because annuals aren't necessarily books that get those big print runs because a lot of collectors don't see annuals as a part of it, maybe, but I do. Um, I want the Greg Rucka detective run. It's a really cool Batwoman story. Let me rephrase it. Caveat. I've heard it's a really cool Batwoman story. Love Greg Rucka. Love the artwork on him. I only need a couple issues, so I need to get that. New 52 was the comic book uh, imprint, I guess, that was the on-ramp for me as an adult collector. This is where I cut my teeth as an adult. And there's some of these volumes, some of these titles that I really enjoy, and I know New 52 kind of people have mixed feelings. Some people have really strong opinions about. I generally enjoyed the different titles. And so there's a couple I need to finish up. So here are the titles that I'm looking at. I need to finish Aquaman. I'm pretty close to that. It's like down to 5 or 6 issues. Um, I need to finish Batgirl. Most of those issues are during the Gail Simone run, 5 or 6 issues. Okay. Issue number 1 and a couple other ones right there. Catwoman. I've been working on that. Again, handful of issues. And then Detective Comics. Now, Detective New 52 is one of the few tech volumes that I'm collecting. I don't have any desire to go into volume 1. There are some books in volume 3, excuse me, that I'm looking at getting, but those are just the Tomasi books because that's where Damian Wayne showed up. But that's not a part of my goal. Okay. Here comes some of the big books, though. I am working on Fantastic Four Volume 1, going from issue 200 to the end of the volume. I have about 40 books left and I'm set. Okay. And some of those, because of what's going on in the MCU, may be considered key worthy or books that speculators are looking at. And so I need to be very careful about that. I am not going to pull the trigger on a hyperinflated book just because I need to finish this volume 1 run. Uh, um, I think Fantastic Four is one of those volumes where I could easily go sub 200, even sub 100. But when we get close to the first 50 books or so, up through like Silver Surfer Galactus, um, those are going to be always outside of my price range unless something phenomenal happens in my life, like I win the lottery or something. Okay. Or I save up for a good year or two. Um, and then I need to finish Fantastic Four Volume 3. And if I finish these things, I have Fantastic Four from issue 200 all the way up to the current issue. Okay. Um, for Volume 3, all the books I need are during the Hickman run. Okay. They're down at the end, and that's about 20 books, and I'll be set with that. Next up, I need to finish Justice League Dark, volume 1 and 2. I have a handful of books in each one that I need. For volume 2, I've been looking for the B covers because they were gorgeous. But if I can't find them, I can't find them. I'll just pull the trigger on the A covers. That'll be fine. Uh, but Justice League Dark is an awesome title. And this is what's gotten me into kind of that side of the superhero genre, the mystical side of the superhero genre. I know there's a lot of people that love that in Marvel, like Ghost Rider or not Doctor Strange. Man-Thing, things like that. Justice League Dark and Swamp Thing did that for me in DC Comics. Got some Silver Surfer books. I'm not looking at this point trying to collect any of Volume 1. I think they're going to spike in price. Silver Surfer spec is already there. I might look for the Masterpiece reprints that came out later in the 70s because I think those might be doable. But I'm going to wait until after Fantastic Four drops and like kind of the heat comes off of that. I am looking to finish my volume 3 book. I'm sorry, volume 3. I'm down to a handful of books on that. I think I may have misspoken earlier when I was talking about the Return of Thanos. Thanos Turn in there. That's the one book I need. And there's a couple other ones, but they're nothing really expensive. What was I talking about? It was ROM. That's what it was. Ignore what I said about ROM. ROM is just, there's no keys I need in that. So I need to finish volume 3. I need to finish volume 5 and then volume 6. Volume 5 and 6, couple books for each of those. No, that's not right. I think it's volume 5. I need like the whole run, but it's like 5 books. Okay, whatever. Once I do that, I have every Silver Surfer book from volume 2 all the way to the current volumes, which they don't exist. I think the last one was the slot run, which here's kind of like a detour for a moment. If you've not read Dan Slott's 2 runs, it was volume it's like 7 and 8 because Secret Wars came out right in the middle, and so they stopped it, and then which was stupid. But it's like 15 books. It is an amazing story. The Alrids are on the art. Highly recommend it. They have an Eisner-winning issue in that run. It is incredible. Check it out. Okay. Next, I've been collecting McFarlane's Spider-Man. I'm down to a handful of books. You know, I just want the McFarlane Spider-Man books, not ASM, just the Spider-Man books. Why? I don't know. I started picking them up in dollar bins and I've been working on them. Okay. So those are all the books I'm looking at. Now, on top of that, and this is something years ago, it's been about 4 or 5 years, I submitted some books to CBCS. I prefer CBCS over CGC, and I got them graded. I want to do that. My goal is, and we'll see how this goes, okay? Because this can get expensive. I don't want to grade things that are not worthy of grading. I'm looking at grading books to do 2 things. One, preservation. Okay, it's going to help preserve the book, and I recognize that there are things they do to protect the book. Some of those things I recognize I could do, but anyway. Second thing is it's going to increase the value of specific books. Not every book, but specific books. So I'm not doing it to speculate, but I'm recognizing to enrich the value of my collection for my family. When I have passed from this form, I need to do some things. And there's some books I can get graded that are going to increase in value. And I know that. So why not do that? Why not do that for them? And then I have that book. It's graded. It'll look great. Okay. I do have some content creator goals, but that's not something I want to talk about like right now. I don't think it really fits. But that's it. So I appreciate you listening to this point. Tell me what you think about my goals. Leave a comment down below. Let's chat about it. I appreciate you listening to me ramble on, prattling on about what I want to do as a collector this year and as a reader this year. And, you know, hopefully it might inspire you to think about, well, as a collector, as a reader, what is your goal? Okay. You can even leave that in a comment below. Thank you for watching. If you did like what you heard, please do like, share, and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, hit the bell in the corner, subscribe so you can listen to me when I drop new content. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to read more comics.